great fights here in France. It's a first ever major organization to come here. It was a final frontier, I call it, and it was a huge success tonight. Let's open up for questions.
First up, we have Donna. Donna, your line is now live.
Hey, Scott, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Obviously, this was a great show. You got a lot of good stuff to talk about. I do want to go to the one negative maybe, which is that people found the way the broadcast worked a little bit confusing. Did it hurt losing those 2 fights today from the prelims that would have kept things rolling a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is a tough one because really we felt that we had booked enough fights to where we had the CBS portion at 5:30 here local time, and we're going to be able to continue on through the night. But when we lost those fights due to the COVID test, then we became short. So listen, I apologize to the reporters earlier. It was an unfortunate situation. It's never happened before in my career, but it's something that with COVID hitting the way it has, and really the safety of the fighter and all the staff and all the cornermen and everything, production people, because we're all living in this bubble. I think it's really the most important. So we lost a couple of fights. There was some dead time in the arena, and then there was some dead time on air. But at the end of the day, it was still a success in my mind. We had some great fights, and honestly, I really love the fact that we found some local kids here that we feel that we could develop, and I think there's some good talent here. I've known that France has been a hotbed for martial arts, combat sports for such a long time, and now I think we'll contribute, and other organizations will contribute as well to helping France become a great MMA country.
I have 2 more, but I'll ask them both at once so that we can get through this a little quicker for the other reporters. The first one is, you mentioned the guys you found. Yves Landau, what an incredible way to announce himself on the world stage. And also a slightly bigger question maybe is with regards to the iPlayer deal and the way the broadcast worked. It was CBS as well. It was on. What constitutes a success during these times, considering there's not really much of a live gate? There's different factors involved. What constitutes a success for a show for you guys now?
Well, I mean, let's talk about the victories. I mean, obviously, to be the first major organization in France, to promote here and bring MMA to this country, really is quite an honor. And there's other organizations that wanted to be here, but for them to work with us first, I think that says a big statement in itself. And as far as the BBC player, that's something I think that David Green has been working on for the last 4 or 5 months, and that is another milestone for Bellator or for MMA in general, because think about this. Before tonight, BBC has never played MMA before and never had it on. And now it's not just embraced it, it's airing it. And I saw a tremendous amount of news pieces surrounding it on the BBC that really showed great support for our sport. And that's a victory in itself, because you guys know how big the BBC is. It's the most powerful media entity in the UK. So it's by far, I think, number one. And so for them to embrace MMA for the first time, it reminds me of the time when CBS first started airing MMA in the United States back in 2009. So it's another milestone for the sport. I think we're making history in France. We're making history in the UK. And it just feels really good to have those victories under our belt tonight.
Our next question comes from the line of Santiago Santash. Go ahead, Santiago.
Greetings from Amsterdam. Scott, firstly, congratulations on being the first in France and also on landing the big BBC deal. I have a couple of questions about your Dutch fighters. Denise Kielholtz won her fight against Kate Jackson on the first big CBS show. She won by devastating KO and is 4-0 in her last 4, with all 4 being finishes. Is she next in line for flyweight champion Ilima-Lei Macfarlane?
I'm not saying she's next, but she's definitely in that lineup. And, she's somebody that comes traditionally from a kickboxing background, as you know. And for her to make that crossover, it's impressive. And the way she finished Kate Jackson, that's no easy task. I mean, Kate and Macfarlane, I think they went the distance back in Hawaii last year. So to me, she can hang with the best, and she knocked her out, and it just seemed like an easy fight for her. So that puts her right in the top of the mix. We do have some other, ladies in mind for the next title shot, but don't be surprised if you see Denise in our 125-pound female tournament that we promote at some point, maybe next year.
You had 3 Dutch fighters who couldn't compete in the last couple of days. How are they doing? Do you think they can still compete later this year?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know the exact situation on all of them because I haven't talked to them. But I could probably get you that information and get it to our PR team and get back to you on that one.
All right, we'll go to Luis Morales.
Hi, you achieved to get a major event in France. With these expansions, do you have Latin America or Mexico in specific for the future?
Definitely. And, we had plans to go to Brazil, but COVID hit and it just kind of stopped everything. But once we start actually going to cities and countries again and doing full events, we will expand to more cities in Asia. As you know, we did a fight on the 30th last year in Tokyo. It was a big success, had 24,000 people there. It was just a great event, and we're definitely going to go back there maybe next year. I don't know about this year, but next year for sure. Korea, China, those are all markets we want to go to, and also Latin America. I think that Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, those are all great markets that we want to go into, and then we do very well ratings. We do very well in our ratings over there. So to me, it's just a matter of time, because really, I think that one of the good things about our organization is we go to the UK, we actually just don't do one fight there or do one fight in Europe. We actually go into the country and we develop a European series. I would like to develop an Asian series after that, and in the same time, maybe do a Latin American series. So we could have our fights going on in the US and have all these sub-series going at the same time, and basically send all these fighters back and forth to make it interesting. But why not eventually do 50 fights a year and have like your maybe at the end of the day you have your own little mini World Cup tournament. That's something that's very interesting to me.
You have signed Gregorio Perez. He's a Mexican fighter. Do you have any other Mexicans in mind?
I'll tell you, we've been working with several promoters that have ceased operations right now because of COVID. And I do know that we're signing active fighters in all the regions, but one of the largest regions is in Mexico. So we're going to continue signing Brazilian fighters, signing Hispanic fighters. Wherever the top talent is, that's where we're going to go, because we're looking for the next blue chip prospect. And to me, they're all over the world, including in Mexico.
Jay Anderson.
Thanks very much. And Scott, first of all, congratulations on the event tonight. Obviously a historic one, going into France for the first time. And you just kind of touched on this, but Oliver Enkamp was talking about, he'd heard rumors of a Stockholm card during fight week. Mads Burnell wants to fight, at home in Denmark, of course. Obviously things are fluid with the pandemic, but could we see more European expansion either later this year or say in 2021?
That depends a lot on the COVID situation. So the COVID, really has stopped us from going into big arenas and traveling to Dublin. And, we're planning to go to Israel this year again. We did fights in Milan, but we were going to go back to Florence and Rome, do the fights in London or maybe Newcastle again. And so it's something that I think that we're going to have to wait till we kind of get this COVID situation under control, because, the travel ban alone is a difficult situation. And what I mean by that is, my team, it's hard for them to even just enter the European country without really going through a lot of politics and red tape and trying to get authorization and the proper letters to travel to Europe, like we did for this fight. And the French sports ministry had to write a letter, and it's just a big process. So we're going to do a lot of our fights in the Mohegan Sun in a soundstage environment, and we're going to continue to do those this year and early next year. But listen, I would love to go to Amsterdam and throw a major fight there, especially because we have so many great Dutch fighters, and there's such a history of great combat sports fighters in Holland and in Amsterdam. So to me, we got to go there. And then, you know, in the Nordics, great talent. Again, another territory that we definitely want to go to. It's just a matter of when it becomes a little bit more easy to travel and when it becomes a little bit more easier to operate our business outside and actually do a touring model like we had done in the past. So it's just gonna be a matter of time because, listen, I think with COVID, eventually this too shall pass. And when it does, then we'll get back on the road and do it like we have been doing it before. But in the meantime, you know, Denise and all the fighters that, you know, some of the top fighters we saw here tonight, we're going to bring them to the United States and fight them at the Mohegan Sun and continue their growth and get their reps in and get their fights in and start growing the European market a little bit more through the athletes.
Kevin Varghese.
Hey, Scott, congrats on a great European series, great highlights, great fights. So now we'll be heading back to the United States to the Mohegan Sun to continue all the cards. The question is, you know, is it just the 3 cards there? 4 cards with UFC 249 to 252, and then you're back to Europe, or are you back? Are you going to be staying in the United States a little bit longer?
Well, right now, this is our last fight in Europe this year, and we will be back next year at some point. We already have another date here at the Bristol Arena or Accor Arena, but we're going to see how the COVID situation goes. We have a tremendous amount of foreign athletes and European athletes that we need to keep busy. So whether they fight here or we fight them in the States, we're going to keep these guys busy. As far as the fights, we have Arlene and Glenn Cow fighting Cyborg on Thursday night coming up. And then Gegard Mousasi is fighting against Douglas Lima. That is a fight, I'm telling you, you do not want to miss. It's going to be unbelievable. That's a fight I'm really looking forward to. And then I think we've announced the Melvin Manoff fight with Corey Anderson. But we have another, I want to say 5, 6, 7 fights all lined up through the rest of the year. But we're going to all do them at the Mohegan Sun. And it's easier for us to bring foreign athletes into the United States than it is for us to move our operations around. But this was a very special occasion. And, you know, I think that it was a difficult process, but I'm glad we did it. And I feel like it's such a victory that, you know, forever in the history books of MMA, you know, we will be down as having the first major mixed martial arts show in the country of France.
We'll take a couple more. Andrew Benjamin.
Hey, Scott, congratulations on the show. 2 questions I have. Can you assess the, in your personal opinion, of the performance of MVP? I know a lot of fans were disappointed with the way the fight turned out. It wasn't as exciting, I guess, like a lot of them wanted to be, and where he goes from there. And my second question is, can you just comment on the change in opponent for Manhoff to Corey Anderson? Why Simon Biong was pulled from that match?
Yeah, you know what? Well, let me start with the first one. The first one, can you repeat the question again? Sorry for
sorry. Just assess the MVP Ross Houston
MVP,
fight.
sorry. So listen, MVP had an off night. That's the bottom line. And I think part of it is due to inactivity, which is part of the whole COVID situation. And we just couldn't fight him. And, you know, now that he's able to fight, you know, we want to keep him busy because we think, you know, listen, he's one of the most talented MMA fighters out there. He's got a very unique style, but don't underestimate this guy. You know, I know he said something about the ring cage or the mat or something, but I think that most of that was what you're seeing there is ring rust. And Houston is no joke. He's a world champion from another league that you know, with an undefeated record. So don't underestimate him. I think that he's somebody that had his way with a lot of athletes. I think that MVP respected him. Had to be careful. To me, it looked like 2 counter fighters there trying to counter fight each other, counter punch or counter kick. And MVP felt like, you know, he couldn't do his thing. And, you know, I think that maybe, you know, there's some truth to the mat. I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure. But, you know, I think that most of that was probably ring rust.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. The second question about the change in the Manhoff fight, why Simon Biong was pulled. Is there anything you could just comment about that?
Yeah, you know what? Let me hold my thoughts on that, and then we'll have something to say next week.
Our final question comes from the line of Lenny March. Go ahead, Lenny.
How's it going, Scott? Congratulations on the impressive event today.
Thank you.
So recently, Bellator have signed so many talents. You got Rustam Khalibov, Jeremy Kennedy, Usman Nurmagomedov, Sean T, just Jared Scoggins, and mostly the one that excites me most, just probably because I'm British, Brett Johns. Which one are you most excited about?
I mean, listen, we have been on a tear signing the top prospects from around the world, and to me, I'm excited to see all of them, honestly. But this kind of reminds me of when I talked about the philosophy of building like the next group. Really, it's all from the ground up, and I did that before in Strikeforce, and we're on our way to doing it again right now. We got a lot of good free agents, but we're building from the bottom up, and the fighters that we have in the United States, very excited about them. Fighters that we just signed from the UK, excited about them, and Usman. I mean, he's a big name. Comes with 11-0 record. I feel like he's gonna shine in our league, and we're gonna give all these guys an opportunity. But as far as blue chip prospects, I think we've signed the next 10 big stars in the sport of MMA for the next